Hello and welcome to EmblemHealth's Care for the Family Caregiver series on family caregiving. The title of our series is You Are Not Alone. I'm Greg Johnson. I'm the creator and director of EmblemHealth's Care for the Family Caregiver program. And I've so very much enjoyed being with you for these conversations. If this is the first one you're seeing, there are 4 previous ones in which we've talked about what is family caregiving. We talked about what is family, what is caregiving, and now we're in a 3-part group that looks at you and looks at me as total human beings. I'm a family caregiver, and I'm certain that most of you are. We are physical, and that's what we talked about in our last show. We are emotional human beings, and that's what we're going to talk about in this one. And we're spiritual human beings. Our care recipients and we get sick and get well in all 3 areas, and they are very much interrelated. As we worry, as we have emotional concerns, we get physically ill. We doubt our spirituality. And then we need the tools to bring ourselves into wholeness once again. The series has been entitled You Are Not Alone, because isolation is one of the great components of family caregiving. As we care for those whom we love who are maybe very, very restricted in their movement, our worlds become very different. The business, the social lives that we led previously for a time, sometimes for an extended period of time, are put on hold, and we become more withdrawn. There is the possibility of codependency. No question about it. We love them so much. But we need to borrow from the 12 steps. We need to remember that we're powerless over our loved one. We are a vehicle for help, but we're powerless over them. We didn't cause the situation, we can't control it, and we cannot cure it. We can walk the walk, we can walk the journey. But in truth, the only person whom I can change is me. Thoughts changed, life changed. And our emotions play an enormous, enormous part. We are physical, emotional, and spiritual beings. And just as we have physical and medical doctors to whom to go for our physical conditions, so too are there therapists, psychologists, clergy, and other persons whom we can go to get help with our emotions. We need to know that that is not only good, it's very desirable. I'm an ordained clergyman, and I wouldn't want to live without my therapist. Now, I know you don't hear that too often from clergy. That's why I wanted to say it. Being able to say, I need help. I need someone to whom I can talk. I need someone to whom I can get a bigger perspective. That help is available. You need it, and I need it. And together, we can find that. So as we talk today, just briefly on the emotional part, because, you know, in life, it's not what happens to us that really matters. Because by the time it happens to us, it's happened. It's history. It's a fact. But what is important is how do I not just go through it, but how do I grow through it? And that's going to touch on our spirituality. It's going to touch on a lot of other things. But it's how do I grow through this? Would I have particularly signed up for it? No, but that wasn't what we were invited to do. This situation is before us, and there is the power and the strength to grow through it. And when we take it out of the realm of go through and let it be grow through, there will be even greater help than we ever thought we could get. Because through this experience, we're going to learn a lot about ourselves. The love that motivated your original willingness to do the caregiving that you're doing, whether it was an obligation you felt or whatever it might have been, you're going to have the opportunity to examine that. And in examining that, you're going to find out more about a person you may not have known, or not as known as well as you do now. That's you. Because in quiet, we learn that. That's also the reason that we at EmblemHealth have been very, very strong on developing and sponsoring non-disease specific support groups. It is so important, whether you do it telephonically, and there are those options available, or you join a support group. Now, in the field of healthcare, excuse me, in the field of healthcare, there are certain diseases for which there are excellent, excellent support groups. There are the Alzheimer's Association. They have some of the finest trainings. They have some of the finest support groups. The Diabetes Association, the Heart Association. These organizations have nationwide some of the finest support groups. But then there are those of us who have loved ones who don't have one of those diseases. And to belong to a support group that focuses on another disease can be trying enough. And that's why the non-disease specific support group is so tremendously important. Because when we come together, it's not the specifics of the disease. There are other ways to learn about whatever disease you and your loved one are facing. What you are doing in the support group is saying, this is bigger than I ever understood. This is bigger, I'm overwhelmed, I don't know where to go. 2 days before the partner of my life, 41 years Joe and I had been together, 2 days before he died, I stood holding one of my favorite prayers in my hand, praying it, and crying, saying, I don't know what to do anymore. We get to that point emotionally. We have many thoughts, and many family caregivers. Now, I want to share just a story that I think is very appropriate here. We had done a presentation of the play, Caring for Me, Caring for You, out on Long Island. And one of the scenes, it's a woman who's at her wit's end, and she's in a support group. This is in the play. She looks at the group and she said, the next time you see me, it's going to be in the jailhouse murder one, because when this meeting's over, I'm going to go home and murder my husband. I can't take it anymore. And of course, everyone gasps, because the truth is she wasn't about to do that at all. But that's where she had come emotionally. You see, feelings aren't facts, and the woman in the play obviously didn't go through on that. Well, I talked about that evening. And a lady came up to me, very lovely, elderly woman. She said to me, oh, Greg, thank you so much for this presentation. She said, I'm going to go home and sleep tonight for the first time since my husband died. And I said to her, oh, I'm very sorry. When did he pass? And she said, 9 years ago. So I said to her, may I ask, what was it that I said that resonated with you? And she said, you remember that lady who said she wanted to murder her husband? She said, I had thoughts like that at the end. It had been 10 years. I was worn out. I didn't know what to do. And I looked at her and I said, but all you ever did was love him. She said, yes. And that's where you are. It's all right to have feelings of exhaustion. It's all right to have fantasies of whatever you want to do. But we don't act on that. Feelings aren't facts. But we need to be able to talk about that. And that's where therapists, support groups, clergy can come into play. And as a clergy person, I just want to say, there's nothing you can say that will shock anybody. We're all human. We've been there. Some of us just are able to talk about it a bit more. Because it's pieces of you and pieces of me that put us all back together. That's what it's about. We're walking together, supporting each other, leaning on each other, and being blessed to take a fuller look at the only person with whom you and I will spend our entire lives, and that's us. So know that what you're doing is right. It's good. Maybe you want to make a few adjustments. That's good. That's growth. That's part of this journey called family caregiving. So just picture yourselves. Come, sit on the bench. Let's talk. You are not alone.